Hi, this is Marianne at Mama Smiles, and today I'm here with Jean Van Tol to talk about her new book, which is Invitation to Draw. Um, it's a really fun book. It's got 99 drawing prompts to inspire kids' creativity. And you can see I have like my 8-year-old has been drawing in it. Let's see, I can find another one. There we go. There we go.
Oh, awesome.
So she's a big fan of your book. So thanks for being here today, Jean. And I wanted to ask you what inspired you to write this book, because I have some of your earlier books and this is like a completely different direction.
It is, yes. It was such a fun book to create. And compared to my earlier books, which were a lot more text heavy and for parents and educators to help foster kids' art and creativity, this book was to be handed directly to kids to inspire them to draw and think more creatively. We've been using drawing prompts in my home and with my art classes and art groups for years and years and years, and absolutely love them. And I love seeing the creativity that comes out, and the creative drawings, obviously, but also you can see that they inspire kids to think differently than when faced with just a blank page. And I just love that. I obviously still believe strongly in giving kids, blank pieces of paper and drawing tools, and letting them create solely from their imagination. But I like to also bring in to offer drawing prompts, and they could be drawing prompts from the book, or drawing prompts that you create yourself. I talk about that in this book. In the intro section, there's information about how to create your own drawing prompts to meet your kid where they are in terms of what their interests are. Like, you can create drawing prompts specifically around certain interests or developmental stages or all kinds of things, and in all kinds of situations and on all different surfaces. You could do it on paper, you can do it on a chalkboard, on a whiteboard, you can do it, when you're out and about, just on a little notepad that you might have in your purse or something. The sky's the limit, and I find that really exciting, and I find the kids' responses to the drawing prompts really exciting too, as someone who really wants to foster children's art and creativity. So based on my experience with drawing prompts with my own kids and other kids, and just the potential that I saw, I was inspired to create this book, and it's been a lot of fun. And I've heard a lot of great feedback from other parents as well, about it and the drawing prompts, and how much fun their kids are having with it, and that's been gratifying.
Yeah, it's definitely been a hit here. So thanks
Good,
for
great.
creating it. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about why creativity is important for kids.
Sure. Yeah.
I do think it is, but would love to hear your perspective.
Well, I could probably talk about that for hours and hours, but I think that creativity is just such an integral part of humanity, of being human, of experiencing the uniqueness of who we are, and then interacting with the world, with other people, and with the challenges of the world. And we are all very different, and creativity is, there's so many definitions of creativity and approaches to creativity and ways to foster creativity. And I have done it through art, but there are lots of other ways as well. But basically, I like to think of creativity as problem solving in a unique way, taking any sort of problem, whether it be a blank sheet of paper and a pencil, or something bigger such as an environmental crisis, or a squabble between siblings or something like that. Anything can be approached with creativity. Cooking can be approached with creativity. Science can be approached with creativity. Creativity is, it's like open-ended problem solving and experimentation and learning about yourself and the world through that. And I think that we all need more of that. We need more of that in this world. We need more of that, the confidence that that engenders in ourselves and in our kids. I think it keeps us open and relating to the world and relating to the challenges that come up in a positive way. I think that's kind of all over the place. Hopefully that made sense.
So kind of like self-discovery, learning about others, and I liked your problem solving point too, because it does take creativity to solve a problem.
Yeah,
that's why it exists. How about, so some kids, so like my 8-year-old, she just loves to draw. She'll draw whenever. Some children really are reluctant to draw, and while everybody doesn't need to be an artist, I think a lot of parents see benefits. And so if you want, and just as even if it's as simple as a way to occupy your child quietly, it can be really useful. And of course, developing creativity, as you said. So what are your tips? I mean, beyond buying this book, which I actually do think is a great place. I mean, if you have a kid who struggles, one of the things I see as a struggle is what should I draw? And this gives them lots of ideas of things they could draw. I also feel like you did a great job in the book of kind of distracting kids from the idea of thinking about, am I drawing well or not? Because it's kind of purpose-driven drawing, right? But I was wondering what other tips you have for like children who are reluctant or maybe anxious, especially about drawing.
Right. So I think there are a lot of different reasons for being reluctant to draw or anxious about drawing, and getting to the heart of the reason in the particular instance is rather important. But if someone is, maybe they're not naturally drawn to drawing, and they have other interests, and some of those might be creative. Some, some people are naturally drawn to drawing or painting more so than others, which is totally fine. That's just part of being human. But I do think that drawing is great for everyone, and you can encourage someone to draw with a prompt, such as from this book. It could be, what's at the end of the rainbow, a question or a challenge, and the beginning of a drawing. It just gets your brain, you start thinking, how could I approach this? And maybe someone who wouldn't naturally draw, be excited about drawing when faced with a blank page, might just start drawing an answer to the question or an answer to the challenge. And so drawing prompts like this can encourage a reluctant artist in some ways. But then there are other reasons, there can be other reasons why a child might be reluctant to draw. It could be that they're getting more self-conscious about their self-perceived drawing ability in relation to other kids or other people. And sometimes that happens if they've received criticism from a sibling or from an adult in their life. Or sometimes it happens because they don't have enough encouragement to do more open-ended art exploration, and the art that has been encouraged in their life has been more adult-led, more results-oriented, whether it is a coloring book that is very adult. The drawings that are in the coloring book for you to color in are very obviously adult drawings that a child of 4 or 5 perhaps wouldn't be able to draw. Or it could be that they're becoming more and more aware of societal expectations. They're in school, and the and what they are being exposed to is not so much encouragement to just express themselves and see where the line takes them or where their inspiration takes them, but more results oriented artworks that are that can be, you know, adult driven or adult led, and rather than child driven or led. And I think that can be discouraging over time. So moving away from something like that and encouraging experimentation. There's some doing open-ended art activities, open-ended drawing activities, encouraging even just like doodling or Zentangle types of drawing, or drawing back and forth. You can play drawing games and make it playful and fun, and a way to connect. That's another way to get back into either enjoying drawing or just encouraging some drawing activity. There are lots of, we have on the Artful Parent, we have a lot of drawing games and drawing open-ended drawing activities that people can do if they're looking for specific activities and ideas. And we've addressed this in multiple blog posts on the Artful Parent as well, as in the Artful Parent book. So if someone wanted more resources, I tend to be more articulate in writing than in talking. So perhaps they would seek out some of those. And then I had something else I was going to mention as well. It might come to me in a minute.
Yeah, you're talking about, it's ArtfulParent.com, correct? That's your.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So in addition to the book, you have a lot of resources online that anyone can look up. The other thing I was hearing is there's really no wrong way to draw. And so you can kind of figure it to the child's interests and strengths. Right. And I loved what you said about experimentation and emphasizing that.
There are also some really, really good picture books, children's picture books that actually I think work amazingly well for adults as well. By Peter Reynolds, Ish and The Dot are both address that particular concern. Someone who doesn't feel artistic, who either feels self-critical or lacks self-confidence in their artistic ability. So if that is the issue that a particular child is facing, then perhaps reading those books together, Dot and Ish by Peter Reynolds. And there's a book called Beautiful Oops as well. That's just it's not specifically about drawing, it's about art in general. And it's amazing for adults and children alike.
Yeah, I love that.
Encouraging confidence and realizing that there is no mistake. You can turn any so-called mistake into something beautiful and interesting and amazing. There's no such thing as a wrong line. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. One thing I found is sometimes finding the right art medium for children can make a big difference in their interest in creating. So I was wondering if there are like art supplies where you have seen a lot of success working with children with them just really grabbing onto them, if there's particular supplies you recommend.
Oh, I have so many art supplies. We've tried so many art supplies. In terms of what might turn on a child, different, every child has their own preferences. So, and also go through different phases of preferences. So one child might really like to work small and detailed and like a pen or colored pencils or something and paper and be inspired by that. Others really like to work big and use their whole body and paints and messy. And then, most kids are somewhere in between and vacillate between different preferences over time. So I'd say go with what you know about your child and their preferences, and tend towards offering activities or supplies that suit them for the most part, but then also remembering that you're the one who is providing experiences and exposure to other things and broadening their preferences and experiences over time. And so continue, even if your child prefers to work big and bold and messy in general, still offer sometimes the small, detailed kind of work here and there, and just give that as an option. And then also, I think for any child, if you, or anyone, just human nature, if you see the same supplies all the time or the same setup all the time, you stop seeing it. So like if your easel, for example, is set up in one way in one corner of the room all the time, you might find that it's ignored after a while. So move it out to the front porch, put different supplies on it, maybe try a brand new supply, and you'll find that it gets used again. And just offering new supplies periodically, or cycling through your supplies and putting some away in a cupboard for a while and then bringing it out might give it a fresh feel. So I think that.
So like rotating toys, just rotate the art supplies.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love that something as simple as moving the easel might create new interest in the easel. And that does make sense, because we do tune out the things that we get used to in our surroundings.
Right. Yeah.
I have one more question I can think of, and then I'd love, if there's more you want to say, I'd love to hear. But I was wondering, the other thing I think, when I want my kids to be creative, I am more successful when I'm more creative myself. So I was wondering if you had any particular tips for parents who are who maybe weren't raised in a home where there was a lot of encouragement around creativity, or just didn't have, whether it was a resource problem or just not lack of encouragement, but are trying to become more creative as adults. I was wondering if you had any resources for them.
Let's see. Well, first of all, I do want to say, I think it's wonderful to recognize that maybe you weren't raised in a creative environment, and that you want to be more creative around your child, as lead by example, and show them that you value creativity. I think that goes a long way. And being willing to experiment, and to not be perfect yourself, I think is important as well, and not judge your own drawings or your own artwork helps, even whether you do it verbally or non-verbally, whether you are vocal about it or not. If you are just willing to create without judgment, that helps your child as well to create without judgment. Kids learn so much from us and how we are in the world, and from what we do as much as, or more than what we say. And that's something I struggle with. I think all of us parents struggle with that in different areas, but yeah. So being willing to experiment, maybe connecting with your kids through creativity if you want to foster creativity and are not super confident about it in yourself. Maybe just sit down and doodle side by side with your kid, or play a back and forth drawing game that's just lighthearted, a way to connect, a way to pass the time, basically doodling back and forth, creating a picture together, and taking turns, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think there might have been more to that question that maybe I didn't answer. I have hope. If there is, let me know.
I think you've done a pretty good job. And you did mention earlier those books, the Ish and Dot was the other one, and Beautiful Oops. Yeah. And I think that they could apply to adults also, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely. And another thing I wanted to add about creativity is it's a lot of us think of creativity around art, drawing and painting, but creativity is so much more than that. We can be creative in the kitchen, and maybe if you're more if you're more confident about your creativity in the kitchen, then that's where you really shine with creativity, and share that with your child. if you're more confident about creativity around gardening or I don't know, there's so many, I think you can bring creativity to any area of your life, and just by sharing that confidence in that area is helpful, and realizing that it's not just confined to art, and it, you know, it's all of life.
That makes sense. And it's also a good illustration of why creativity is important, because it extends to every, you know, basically every part of life. So I appreciate that. Well, thank you, Jean. This has been really great. Is there anything else you'd like to say that you think we didn't cover?
Just have fun. Do some, offer some drawing prompts, maybe do some yourself, offer some to your kids, whether you get the book Invitation to Draw and offer those drawing prompts, or whether you just make your own. Like there are so many opportunities, so many ways you can make drawing prompts. You can you know, draw the beginning of a drawing on a piece of paper. For example, you could draw a couple of wheels on a piece of paper, and then invite your child to design a truck or draw the fastest car in the world or something like that. You can put a couple of eye stickers or googly eyes on a piece of paper, or a bunch of them, and invite your child to draw the people, the animals, the monsters. If your child's really into fairies or princesses or whatever, you could draw the very beginning of a castle or a fairy wand, and let them finish the drawing. There's so many. It's easy to do, and it's really gratifying, I think, to see the results. And I think that kids really enjoy it in general as well.
Yeah.
So whether you pick up a copy of the book and use the drawing prompts that I've created, or you make your own, I encourage you to give them a try. I think that everyone will enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And again, just a quick, this is Jean Van Tol's Invitation to Draw. It is a very fun book. I was impressed with the prompt variety, and also another thing I really appreciated is the high quality of the paper, because as you saw at the beginning, my daughter's coloring in markers and it's not bleeding through to the next page, which
right. And actually what you can do is I asked my publisher to do perforated pages. So they're single-sided, perforated. You can just pull them out, and like you said, it's high quality paper, and you can use any sort of drawing tools on it. You can even use paints on it. You know, it's not super thick paper, so if you use paints, it might buckle a little bit. But you can use stickers, you can use collage materials, and you can just offer a single one at a time, you know, as part of a simple art invitation, or to bring with you to a restaurant or waiting room or something like that. So
yeah, it's definitely a great waiting, but like occupy the child for, because you don't need a ton of time to do a drawing, although some children will take a long time. Yeah, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And
absolutely. Thank you. I'm so happy for this conversation.
Me too. All right, thanks so much.
All right, bye. Thanks.
Bye.